welcome. Don't be a butcher is probably the topic of today. And welcome to Morning Minutes, myself, Michael Bergio, and Mark Novak. And this morning we're talking about landlords butchering their management. And basically, this is now the time where if you ever thought to yourself, why do I have someone professionally managing my property? This is it. Like some of the stories that we're getting from landlords calling us, saying, what do I do here? What do I do? And
some of the stories, Michael, oh my God.
Horrible. And basically the first thing we say not to do, that's basically the first thing the landlords have done. Like, okay, we sort of pretend that, like, Mark, tell us like some of the, just opening it up.
Look, COVID is one of those things where, look, in bad times, good times, bad habit breeds. In bad times, good habits breed. So right now, guys, we are seeing in terms of property management, the operators that are actually good at what they are doing, they are absolutely shining in these times. Now, the golden rule, sorry, I got the sun in my eyes, the golden rule, and the first thing that I've seen, for instance, self-management landlords do, and also a lot of real estate agents do, the golden rule they've broken is they've done, if they've been kind enough with tenants and fortunate enough to be able to pass this on to tenants, they've done it by a rental reduction. Big mistake.
Yeah, so just to take it back, yes, it's a great topic. I think Mark thought of this, isn't that right, Lisa? So first of all, professionally, so we're talking about properties, rental, investment properties, residential and commercial. And professionally managed is when you have a real estate agent, for example, like us, manage the property, i.e. collecting the rent, rental negotiations ingoing. And self-managed is when the owner of the property does it themselves. So there's no middle person. They will liaise with the tenant for rent collection, any expenses outgoing. So just to change the difference, because a lot of people, and a typical, like, let's go the pros and cons, but the cost of the service is quite minimal. When you look at it, most agents are say 6% plus GST, investments are what, $500 a week. So 10% would be 60. So it's about $30 a week. We're talking about the difference between having a property managed and self-managed.
Yep.
But then you look at what an owner is, because a lot of them are trying to do it to save costs. They don't see the value. But it's like car insurance, Mark. You don't see the value until you need it. And if you don't have it, instead of like it just blows out, it could be quite costly for the asset and for the cash flow as well. So what are you seeing smart agents do that some professional landlords aren't? Because let's face it, if someone does something day in and day out, i.e. managed property, and you're doing it part-time, let's use the assumption they can do it better, basically.
Oh, look, it seems simple on the outside. Like, how would you ever, as a self-managed client, you just think it's just collecting rent? If you sat in our real estate office for 12 hours in a day and watched all of the hundreds of conversations and emails and thousands of emails that get passed through in the course of a day, you would go, this is a complex business, and I understand why I need a property professional to protect my asset. Now, that example that we touched on at the beginning, as an example, if you pass on a rental reduction, let me frame this up. How fast did COVID come? In 1 week?
Yes.
In 2 weeks, and in 4 weeks.
Definitely.
Right? That's how fast, potentially, we can shut down COVID. So when the time comes and the government turns around and says, okay, we're 3 months, 6 months, whatever down the track, they will wind down as hard as they wound up, right? Now, if you've got a rental reduction in place, I'm sorry to tell you, Mr. and Mrs. Landlord, but you cannot put you have to officially put rent up with 60 days notice, plus public holidays, plus postage. So that's about 65, 66 days notice you have to give when you decide you want your rent to go back up. That's one catch. Do you know what the second big catch is? Legislation. No. You cannot put rent up in COVID. Legislation, you cannot put rent up in COVID.
Yes.
So if you've been kind enough to bring the rent down $40 for a tenant, and you're thinking that's all right, I'll just put that rent back up in a month's time or 2 months' time. If everything goes back, if everyone goes back to work, you can't. One, you have to officially put the rent up by way of notification, which is almost a 2.5 month period. Two, you have to wait out till the COVID period is the COVID period, which has been designated a 6-month period. We have a moratorium that we cannot put rents up on tenant for 6 months. So you're looking potentially, if you did this at the start, at an 8.5 month period. So if you may have been a trigger happy landlord saying, hey, I'm going to do half rent for you just because it's a really bad time at the moment, you're going to be stuck at half rent for 8.5 months.
Yes.
And that's the legislation.
Yeah, and if you don't do the correct timing, it could be 10 months. You could get to the end of the 8 months and rent goes up and the tenant's like, no, you need to give me 2 months notice, and not knowing these things as well. And the main thing is, where as an agent or any sort of professional, you got access to people in the know. Like, there's a lot of landlords out there, a lot of business owners who probably did things a little bit too early because all they're watching is the news. They're not getting the relevant information for their industry. And the
legislation is still not passed.
It still hasn't passed.
Any commercial, for instance, all that stuff that was going to get gazetted has not been gazetted. They've been promising this for 3 weeks with commercial. And don't get me wrong, guys. I'm not saying we don't work it out. We know with tenants for commercial or residential. I'm saying there's a proper way and there's a shit way. And if you're not doing it professionally, if you're doing, for instance, if you're passing on any rental relief to a tenant, there's a right way and there's a wrong way.
Exactly what Jackson, who's watching, says. Stick to what you know. And I think it's a lot of very savvy, even like some smart business people, they're really good at it. They respect that it's like someone trying to be the jack of all trades. You're a carpenter, but then you're doing the books and then you're doing the business plan and the advice. It's stick to what you know, focus on that, and outsource basically what you don't. So, i.e. a builder's great at building, outsource your books, outsource that so you can focus on your craft. Same as if you bought a property, like why now are you going to get into the property management business when it takes years to master it, years of experience and situations? Like if you're one of the owners who it is simply just collecting rent, good on you. Thank God for your, you're lucky. For most owners, there's a lot of situations that come up.
Oh, they butcher it. They can really butcher it up. Hence the background. Yes. You can really butcher it up.
And that's the key to have that there. And it really, like even some people in the industry probably didn't do it right. So it's just very important when you've got an asset, like what's Lisa's analogy, the bag of cash one, Mark? Do you want to go through that?
Oh, I love that analogy. All right. So it's like a bag of cash. Say you've got a bag of cash with $500,000 in it. Who are you going to trust it with? Because when you get that bag of cash back, you want to make sure, one, there's more money in it or the same amount of money, preferably more money. That's the job of the person looking after the cash. If that person's not good at looking after that cash, if they're not qualified at looking after that cash, you could lose it all.
Yes, 100%. And that's the best way to look at it. So the point of today is exactly what Jackson said. Stick to what you know and outsource what you don't so it gets done professionally. Because it's just, we're with property, when it goes bad, it goes really bad. Hey, Mark. And it's generally a lot of it, when you think of all the real bad situations we've had to come up, a lot of them could have been resolved if they went in a different path initially. So a lot of the time where an issue could really be downsized so it doesn't escalate is in that first phone call. And if you're a landlord, you want the initial call to be to an agent who specializes in it, because I find they're the defining moments. When an owner comes back to you going, oh, I shouldn't have self-managed, and drops the pile of shit on your lap, basically saying, please fix it. When we analyze it, we're like, okay, these were our first steps we would do in that situation, because we've done it 100 times. But that landlord's his first property, he's never had it to come up.
And having a professional agent, if you look what happened at first week of COVID, a whole bunch of agents around us all went to work from home, whereas our team huddled together, communicated with the landlords that we're on deck, that we are available. The amount of support emails we've got from landlords and tenants about how we've navigated through this situation and taken panic away from them, again, that adds value, because if you're a self-managed landlord, for instance, that panic, like who would you turn to? Uncle Michael, or you know what I mean? Like, who do you turn to? So it's great having a pro there in these testing times to ring up and say, is everything going to be okay? What are we doing now?
Michael Edwards make a great point. Half rent means half management fees. So as an owner, when you're looking like most landlords at the moment feel like they're on an island by themselves. There's no help. Like a lot of the stories out there, they feel like there's no help from government. There's no help from anyone. They've got half rent. They feel alone and stranded. By having that agent, a professionally managed agent, your property, we've got your back, because rightfully so what Michael said. The more rent we get for you, the larger the fee is for the company. Even if it comes down to that simple ideology to push you to have someone manage your property, we fight for you. For that Agents reason. Fight for you. Same as financial planners and accountants, as Jackson's on, Michael's on, Luke's on. Really great to have you. Same as a buyer's agent. They're there fighting for you. And I think the biggest analogy is just a car insurance. You pay that for an asset that goes down, and it's almost more expensive, $30 a week. It's very similar, isn't it? Car insurance.
And genuinely, there's good car insurance and there's bad car insurance. Yes. On the note of car insurance, our agency in the first week of COVID, our agency acknowledged, found out, identified, and informed landlords. If you tamper with your rent outside, it will tamper with your insurance policy. So where the whole industry was saying, yeah, do this with the rent, do that with the rent. If it's not done properly, your landlord's insurance will not be valid. Yes. And so we were saying to landlords, please consider this. As soon as we told landlords, I didn't know that. Now, most of the industry didn't know that. Our real estate industry was doing these rent reductions, which has been voiding the landlord's insurance. They didn't know that. Furthermore, we rung out the guys that we use for insurance, and they all said, we are no longer doing policies. Guess what we did for our landlords?
We found someone who did.
Big time. We found AON Insurance said, we are closing our new policy line at 5 p.m. on Friday. At 5 p.m. on Thursday, we SMSed 1,500 landlords saying, hey, if you haven't had your landlord's insurance and you do want landlord's insurance, and better than that, when we spoke to AON, we said, what is your policy around COVID-19? They said, we'll send you that as well. So we sent the policy, the insurance policy, the answers to no COVID-19 on their insurance policy if you did make a claim. So landlords could actually take out a fresh policy, new policy if they didn't have one. Guess what? I sent a link on that so I could see how many landlords clicked through to the policy.
It's amazing. And like Lisa says, why don't you YouTube heart surgery and do it yourself? There's one thing I'm really, as things go on, you've got to in life, people can do things better than you. Find that one thing you're good at or two things and do it, and employ people align yourself with people who do the things you don't better than you. So then instead of you doing everything 5 out of 10, you do what you do 8 out of 10. Employ someone to do the other part you need, like manage your property 8 out of 10. You don't
but
service
guys
your own
and
car,
girls,
get that done 8 out of 10. Like,
but guys and girls, I had
I
a
think that's probably the
thousand
biggest
people.
tips.
I had 1,000 people that actually clicked on that insurance link to look to view the policy. I rang the AON guy and said, "How did it go?" He said, "On Friday we got absolutely annihilated." He said I think he said 1,800 policies taken out on that Friday. Most of our landlords were already insured, so our landlords were forwarding that insurance link on good advice from their agent. They were forwarding that link around to their friends and family because most of them already had insurance. And the ones that did get the insurance policy were like, "Thank you so much." That is the difference between self-managing and professionally managed.
Yeah, and okay, Mark. So like, there's a lot of people already like we're preaching to the converted. A lot of great agents watching now, but for the landlord out there who self-manages, obviously Northern Beaches come to us. But how do they know who's a good agent? It's almost like a school teacher. They all look the same until you get in the classroom. What can a landlord do from the comfort of their home to see if they're a good agent on their digital media presence? Well, probably if they've got one first, but what's some things an owner can create a checklist in their head to, they're a good company, there I want to call in to look at my property?
Talk to your friends and family.
Yeah.
All you got to do is ask around and say, "Hey, who's a fantastic property management company?" And people will happily nominate agents that are great in your area. So that's, is the best form of referral is word of mouth. It still is. It really, really still is.
Okay. Anything else you want to take on there? Lots of g'day, Brett, Michael, Luke, Rosie Sullivan. Always great to have you guys watching. Margaret, silly to self-manage.
Honestly, Rosie Sullivan, for guys who don't know, particularly real estate agents, this is one of the best trainers in the country for certification on real estate agents. Rosie would see all of the mistakes that agents make in the industry. When we make mistakes, and we do, we call Rosie. But there's a perfect example of all that stuff that can go wrong. Rosie's on that coalface in the firing line as well. There's so much. There's so
a
much.
lot. Even Michael Edwards says, Mark, a lot of insurances may not cover you if you're self-managed because they know a lot of issues come from just managed it wrong and they don't feel they should cover it. They want to see a property professionally managed. And buyers, Mark, if you're going to sell your property, we haven't even got him down there. They don't like to see self-managed properties. They hate seeing self-managed commercial properties, and same in residential. It just doesn't have that stamp of approval. Things were done right. Because most of the time they're not. The leases aren't done correctly. And a lease, you only care about it being signed correctly when shit hits the fan, and then it's too late. So you need to make sure it's done correct at the beginning.
Do you know what I love? I'm going to the car wash. You want to see the car wash?
Yeah. Self-service. Pay someone, Mark. Do it professionally.
There you go. Look at that.
Yeah, people on Facebook won't see it though. I'll turn. Insta can't see it.
Okay.
So, okay. Anyway. So anything else you want to add, Mark, to this morning?
No. Yeah. What would I just say before?
Something about the car wash.
That was a good one as well.
Yeah.
Anyway, mate, it's interesting that basically self-managed is an absolute monster out there. And that's what I want to say. The cliche biggest mistake I see agents make, as well as and Rosie, who's watching, will vouch for this, and landlord's mistake is the name of the tenant or the name of the agent.
Yeah.
If it's Mark and Lisa Novak, how many times I have seen an agent's lease or a self-managed owner's lease say Mark and Lisa Novak as the tenants or as the landlord. Now, if you do that mistake, the tribunal member will send you back out the door you walked in.
Yeah, because it's got to be full names for both parties. Simple contract. Mark your Instagram screens. Weird. Kevin, South Florida, good to have you back on. You guys multitasking at its best. Yeah, you should see the setup here with all of us. So,
Now I'm going to show in the car wash. I'm going to show you the washing machines that they have. That's the dry. So those washing machines wash the chamois.
Yeah.
Crystal Car Wash. Here we go. And I'm just going to go around here while he gives me a dry. There's a guy with a thing. Here we are. And then he's going to wave at you in a sec. I'll give him a wave. Look, there you go. Okay.
Alrighty.
So that mistake of the names on the lease, or putting a Christian name with no surname, if a tribunal member, if they really don't like you, can say pay your rent back.
Yeah.
Because that was not that was not a valid lease agreement was not a valid agreement with that tenant because it was worded incorrectly.
And that's where it comes undone. And it may sound good at the beginning. You didn't have a letting fee, $30 a week until that happens. And I tell you what, Mark, they're the people then who get their property managed for life and always think to themselves, I should have done it. So that's,
But I'm not trying, Michael, and everyone who's watching, I'm not trying to gloat. I'm not trying to say, ha, that's they made this mistake and that mistake. But what I'm trying to say is if we're not going to tell people this, who the hell is? Correct. If we're not going to say, Mr. and Mrs. Landlord, these are some of the reasons that people have fallen into a hole. And because when we're opposite the client, we share those stories. But now on social media, it's amplifying out to the public. Guys, don't make these mistakes. And I'll say it again, we're not gloating. We're just saying there's a lot of stuff that we've learned over the years that we do to protect your asset. We are unbelievable at it. Thanks, buddy.
Perfect.
All right.
Alrighty, guys. That's a take.
Thank you for watching. Car wash is done as well. Yay!
Beautiful. Awesome. Thanks, everyone.
Love everyone. Have a great day. Blue skies. Thursday, weekend's coming, and giddy up.
Yes. Awesome.
See you, man. Bye. Thanks, Burge.